Hello to everyone, greetings of peace. Today, we Brahma Kumaris are hosting a unique event called Off Time, which invites our eminent speakers. They will reflect on the current situation of the world, what we can learn the lessons from. The title of this program, Soul Awakening, Finding the Purpose of Our Life. Join me today to welcome Mr. Mitsuda and B.K. Charles Hogg.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to Brahma Kumaris, our online special event for this summer. During these uncertain times, two great teachers on spirituality will discuss and guide us on where we should focus on our mind and face our challenges in our lives. They will teach us how we can navigate through turbulent times and find our true life purpose. My name is Fuyuko Takita. I'm a moderator for you today. And please join me in welcoming our two wonderful guests, Mr. Shigeru Mitsuda and B.K. Charlie. So welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Yes, so before we ask two guest speakers to give us a talk, I'd like to give you a brief introduction of each speaker, starting from Mr. Mitsuda.
Okay.
So Mr. Shigeru Mitsuda, he was born in Hiroshima Prefecture in 1958. He graduated from the Faculty of Engineering, Kyoto University. When he was 20, he read Edgar Cayce's Many Mansions, published by Tama Publishing, and awakened to a spiritual outlook on life. After graduating from the same graduate school, he worked for a Government Research Institute for 4 years. Since then, he has been devoted to researching, translating, writing spiritual philosophies centered on Edgar Cayce in the past 30 years. He is currently the chairman and president of the NPO Edgar Cayce Center in Japan. So thank you for being with us today. Next, I'd like to introduce Brother Charlie. Mr. Charlie Hogg is a national coordinator, chief executive of the Brahma Kumaris in Australia, and the chairman of its board of directors. He's based in Sydney and regularly visits the 40 BK venues around Australia. He's also an active member of the Brahma Kumaris International Coordinating Group, responsible for major international projects and the administrative direction of the organization's global network of centers. In college, Charlie met Brahma Kumaris in London on his journey to explore spirituality in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. He learned meditation as a way to create a better world and has been practicing Raja Yoga for over 40 years. He gives lectures around the world. Okay, so may I start to ask a question starting from Mr. Mitsuda? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So first question, Mr. Mitsuda, for you is, well, actually, please share, not the question, but please share your personal experiences on your soul journey. So how did you initially start to search for truth or higher power? You might have thought something more was out there. So when and how was your turning point?
Okay.
Yeah? So you told me about your high school days when you were looking for or searching for the truth, meaningful life. But because you couldn't find it anywhere, you felt desperation,
Right.
You rose up from the desperation, even you experienced the depression. So if you can share your personal experiences on your soul journey, that would be great. And two more questions.
Okay.
Yes? So did you find what you're looking for eventually? And how would you describe soul awakening experience? Yeah. How
All
has
right.
your life started to shift after soul awakening process?
Okay.
Lots of questions in one
I will
question.
try.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I feel very honored and privileged to have such a wonderful opportunity to talk with Charlie and share my experiences with people who have been practicing spiritual teachings. My name is Shigeru Mitsuda, and as Huiko-san introduced me, I am currently the president of Education Center in Japan. And my job is to disseminate education information throughout Japan. So I do a lot of lecturing and giving seminars all over Japan. But you might be surprised that I was a strong atheist before I met Edward Casey, before I came across Edward Casey. First, I must tell you why I was an atheist. Not just an atheist, I was a stubborn atheist. First of all, my father was another strong atheist. There was a good reason why he became an atheist. But this is a wrong story, so I made a shorter version. When he was 14 years old, he was sent to Manchuria. And when the World War II was over, my father was sent to a Siberian labor camp. And there, he was infused a lot of ideology of Marxism. So naturally, he developed a scientific materialistic point of view. And when he came back to Japan, he was total atheist. And when I grew up, my family atmosphere is totally non-religion. My father used to say to me, there is no God, there is no spirit, no souls. My father's favorite saying is, religion is the opium, or opiate of the people. Also, he used to say to me, when man dies, he will turn to be a garbage. Garbage. So we will someday will become a garbage. This is his worldview. What a pity. And when I grew up, naturally I see many things as a materialistic point of view. But at the same time, I felt strong agony because I couldn't find the meaning of my life. If I should disappear, if I will be I will be extinguished from the world, what's the point of living a sincere life? I couldn't find the answer. And to ask for the advice, I went to school teachers on ethics. And he told me, oh, you should better read 3 philosophical books, namely Descartes, Schopenhauer, and Immanuel Kant. And I was very naive boy. And as the teacher suggested me to read those books, I actually read. I could understand, to some extent, Descartes and Schopenhauer. But I couldn't understand what Immanuel Kant talked about at all. It was such a despair because I want to know whether or not there is any meaning in my life. But I couldn't understand what the Kant said. So my poor brain prohibited me from understanding my life purpose or the meaning of my life. It's very sad. At the same time, this is very funny. My father, even though he has a materialistic worldview, and he used to say, when man dies, you will go garbage, he also said, study hard and pass the examination. And he wanted me to pass one of the most prestigious universities in Japan. and become a lawyer. Well, by the way, my father wanted me to become a medical doctor. So my parents have a different idea. But anyway, those two professions I am not interested in at all. And those pressures were so huge. At one time, my father said, there is no meaning in my life. On the other hand, he said, you have to study very hard to become a lawyer. And I couldn't reconcile these contradictions. And the teacher said, read those 3 books. But I couldn't understand it. That's a huge disappear. Actually, the disappear was so big, I scribbled suicide note several times, or many times. And I could write out 2 of them. Very beautiful suicide note, I should say. And I was very happy about it. And I hid them in my room so that my parents would find them someday when after I died or I committed suicide. This is what I thought when I was a high school student. But I couldn't carry the idea just because every time I tried to commit suicide, the memory of my mother disturbed my mind. She was very kind, she was very good, and I know she did everything she could for me. And I know she loves me very much. And how can I do to her in return? That's horrible thing. This notion always held me back. And finally, I came to a conclusion that, okay, I will die after my mother died. I will commit suicide after my mother died. Then I don't have to inflict such an agony on her. This is my plan. This was my plan. And I went to university just to satisfy their wishes. But I have no intention or no, motivation to study engineering. I didn't attend school very much. Instead, I went to school library almost every day. And the only thing that I read is about philosophy, one after the other. But I couldn't find any meaning in my life. And the pressure was so huge. And when I reached age 20 years old, my mind was so unstable. I know, my mind was so disturbed. When I get up, my mind said to me, why are you still living? Why don't you commit suicide? It's time for you to commit suicide. It is no use for you to live any longer. So to stop my voice within my head, I needed to kill myself. So I gave myself one last chance, one last opportunity to study philosophy. So one day I went to bookstore and I went to philosophy corner. The philosophy corner is what I say I am so familiar with. So I know every titles. But somehow on that day, there is a strange book, very strange looking book. The title was Many Mansions. And subtitle was Reincarnation, revealed by Edward Cayce. What? I thought Edward Cayce was a philosopher because the book is on the philosophy corner. I have no interest in occult or spiritual matter, or rather I despised those books. So it never occurred to me to go to the that kind of section. So I went to philosophy section, but somehow, maybe the bookstore staff didn't know Edward Casey used to belong to occult or spiritual matter, but he put it into the philosophy section. I bought it and started reading it. And as soon as I read several pages, I began to scream, "What? Why did I know him?" Edward Casey was a living evidence of that we are not just a physical being. Our true nature is an eternal, noble spiritual being, entity. And overnight, I read through the book. And at that moment, I became let's just say, strong advocate of Edward Casey. And I thought, why didn't the school teacher teach me about Edward Casey before teaching me Descartes, Schopenhauer, and Kant? I almost killed myself. So I decided, okay, if school teachers are not interested in teaching Edward Casey, I will do it. I will do it from the northern part of Japan to the southern part of Japan, all over Japan. I want to bring such a wonderful message throughout Japan. This is what I thought, or this is my resolution at that time. And that motivation still, pushing me forward and forward. Okay? Yeah. So, in my case, it is not what kind of spiritual training, but rather philosophical, pursuit led me finally to Edward Casey and the spiritual worldview. I do not exercise breathing. I didn't know anything about meditation or prayer at the time. But after I came across Edward Casey's information, I studied how to meditate, how to pray, and what kind of diet I should follow to keep myself healthy. Those kind of information I have observed from Edward Casey's information. And well, just for people who do not know so much about Edward Casey, let me explain about Edward Casey a little bit. Is that okay? Edward Casey was born in Kentucky, America in 1877, and he died in 1945. What made him very famous is that his unique psychic ability. When he was 24 years old, he happened to find his unique ability under hypnosis experiments. Even though he has no knowledge about medicine, he had no knowledge about anatomy and physiology. But when people come to Edward Casey for the advice of health issues, Edward Casey went into trance state guided by hypnosis, and then he began to speak. And he could, clairvoyantly see the patient's body, and he could point what's wrong with you. Even though the medical doctor didn't notice it, but Edward Casey exactly point the real cause. And you should cure this area, and you will get cured. And people who followed his advice get better, get well. These kind of phenomena cannot be false, cannot be fraud. Magician could not emulate what Edward Casey did. right? And to me, Edward Cayce himself is evidence that we are not just a physical being. We are, in our true nature, was a supreme spiritual being. That's made me very happy. And I say, I was filled with blissfulness.
Yes.
And since then, I try to follow his teachings. The most important teaching to me was try to be a channel of blessings to those that I contact in every way. And I have to lose my ego into him. Him meaning most of the time is Jesus Christ or the Krishna or the Buddha or the Father. Anyway, you have to lose yourself in him. Then you will get free. And you can be a channel of blessings to anybody you meet. This is the most important teachings that I learned from Edward Cayce. Is that okay?
Yes.
How's that?
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Mitsuda. Thank you very much for sharing your fascinating
All right.
story on your soul journey and your story about Edgar Cayce that I didn't know much about. So definitely that was your soul awakening experience,
Right,
meeting Edgar Cayce's teaching.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Brother Charlie, may I ask you a very similar question, almost the same question for you? Yes?
Yes, please.
Yes. So, like Mr. Mitsuda, if you can share your own personal experiences on your soul journey. Similar questions. How did you initially start to search for truth or higher power? You yourself almost similar, in a similar way, like Mr. Mitsuda, you must have thought something more was out there when you were young. And so when and what was your turning point? So in your case, you told us that you traveled around the world, as it says in your profile, background profile. You traveled around the world to search the source of truth and ended up finding and meeting Brahma Kumaris in London. So did you find what you're looking for? How would you describe soul awakening experience? How has your life started to shift after the soul awakening process? If you can answer these questions, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Yuko-san, and I so enjoyed listening to Hiro. It was really so enjoyable listening to your story, and I'm really honored to be with you both today. I've been visiting Japan for the last 35 years or so, and I really love visiting Japan. I love the culture, I love the country, and just being with you today is making me feel like I'm there, because I can't come to you at the moment because of the pandemic. But my story, I actually was born in Melbourne. I grew up in Melbourne, and I think from at a young age, I was looking for something. But to be honest, I didn't really know what I was looking for. And when I went to school, my friends knew me as a bit of a philosopher. So my nickname at school was Swami. My friends would call me Swami. But when I was 12, my parents decided that I should be confirmed in the church. In the Christian world, they have this formal entry into the church, even though my parents weren't very religious. So I went along to confirmation classes for, I think, about 3 months every Sunday. And then one day my parents asked me, "What have you learned?" And I said, "I think I'm an atheist." And they said, "Why?" And I said to them, I can't relate to the divine which they talk about, because the supreme power they talk about is a very authoritarian, punishing, judgmental type of person. And so in a way, even in my early teens, I moved away from religion, and yet there was still a search inside. And I became quite involved in social activism. You know, when you get to a certain age, you see so much injustice in the world, and you know, you're very idealistic about doing something to improve the world. And I used to do a lot of marches, protest marches, especially because Australia at that time was involved in the Vietnam War, was supporting America in the Vietnam War. And once when I was 17 years old, I went to the Australian National University, which is in Canberra. And I went on a march, an anti-war march. And a few of the students got excited. One thing led to another, and I was arrested and put in jail. In fact, 200 students were put in jail for the night. And it was the 1970s. And so, you know, first we began to sing songs, you know, like John Lennon and Yoko Ono. You know, you remember those peace songs they used to sing. But actually, when it died down, the singing died down, and I was listening to all the conversations. These were the leaders of the peace movement. And I realized we were such an angry, negative, aggressive group of people. And I had such a deep realization that peace will never come through this way. Unless I really taste peace myself, the world will never change and become a more peaceful world. And so that was when I was 17. And after that, I did go to university and I started studying architecture. I think I was a little bit like you. I wasn't really interested in the course, and my search was getting stronger and stronger. So at the age of 20, I flew to Southeast Asia, and I traveled overland from Southeast Asia through to India, through to the Middle East, through to North Africa, into Europe. And you know how life is so interesting. I made no real plan in my mind, but wherever I went, I ended up living in spiritual communities, religious communities. And I often see this as my real education. I live with Sikhs, and you know that Sikhs, a part of their faith or tradition is to take in travelers. I live with Buddhists. I live with Buddhist monks in Thailand. And I used to go out with the monks in the morning to bed. I live with Muslims during Ramadan, fasting during the day. I went to the Himalayas and I lived with yogis in the Himalayas. And then I went to the Ganges, you know, the great river of India, and I bathed in the Ganges. And even when I was in Europe, I lived in Belgium for a while in a Christian community. And I think that as I began to travel, I became an agnostic, meaning maybe there is a supreme being, maybe there is, I'm not sure, I don't really know. But my real question as I was traveling was, how do you really experience, how do you transform the beliefs and the theories into the feelings and the experience inside? Everyone talked about peace, power, happiness, love, but how do you really taste it and feel it? And I settled in London, and even while I was living in London, I was shopping around all the different spiritual communities. And in those days, I used to think that London was like a spiritual supermarket. Everything was available, you could find everything. And I even used to go for the latest thinking in psychotherapy, which was Aldous Huxley and Francis Huxley and these sort of people. And one day I went to a place in London called the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain. And there were two Indian ladies who were talking. And the instant I saw them, I could see in their faces, I could see from their vibrations, they were experiencing peace. They had a real spirituality and purity. It just emanated from their being. And that really touched me. And I think that what I really saw was that these people just didn't preach. They just didn't talk about text or read books. They were actually living a spirituality, which was what I really wanted in my life. And so they invited me along to the Brahma Kumaris Center in London. And I had two main questions, I suppose. The question I think most have in life, which is, who am I? And the second question was, how do I experience true love? Because for me, the pinnacle human experience is to really taste true love. And firstly, they said to me that the first thing they mentioned about the self was that there's like 3 personalities inside all of us. And 2 of them make you peaceless. 2 of them create that feeling of no purpose in life, meaninglessness in life, which you were talking about, Shigeru. And 1 of them creates a sense of peace. And the first personality they talked about was really like the eye of arrogance or the eye of superiority. And this personality takes its whole sense of self from the labels of my body. I see myself as a temporary body, you know, a male, an Australian, etc. But when this personality is ruling my inner world, I compare with others and I think, I am better, I know more, I am right. And when it comes into my feelings, I feel so easily insulted, disrespected, not valued, excluded. And so when my ego is ruling me, my ego is born out of the false sense of self. And that made a lot of sense to me. But the second personality was the eye of lack of self-respect, the ego of inferiority. And when this is ruling, I also compare with others, and I think others are better, others know more. You know, others don't love me or respect me. And when it comes into my feelings, all those feelings of hopelessness, inadequacy, inferiority, depression, which unfortunately is dominating our world. And so when I forget who I am and I think I'm a temporary body, the 2 children are my ego and lack of self-respect, and hence how you go up and down in life. But then they said the third personality is the original I. And that is I, the soul. And the soul is a wonder. And this struck me so deeply. The soul exists, but it has no physical size. In mathematics, they define a point. It exists, but it has no length, breadth, or width. I am the soul. I sit in the front of the brain in the center of the forehead, and I act through this body. But I am something distinct from the body. And I, the soul, am immortal, eternal, non-physical. And when I heard that, it just made so much sense for me. You know, I just felt I've come home. You know, this is something which makes a lot of sense to me. And so when I began to really understand this, I began to see that when I had gone to university, I knew so much information. You know, we learn so much information, but spiritual learning is so different. It's taking one idea, who am I, and going deeper and deeper and deeper, unpacking that truth. So I convert the knowledge of the soul into such a state of peace that no person, no atmosphere, no criticism, no insult can take me away from that peace. And so this is really, I love the idea that my mind is like a laboratory and I experiment, not just to know these facts and believe them, but to experience them. And I often feel the first step is to know, the second step is to believe, the next 998 steps is educating myself how to really live and feel as a peaceful soul. And so that thing they taught me, and that changed my life, that absolutely shifted something deep in me, and automatically my self-respect began to change. The second question was the journey for true love. And, you know, I always feel that of all the things I value, it's the experience of love, my observation of myself. And I love the spiritual journey because you like observe yourself deep within. And the observation of me is that when my heart is full of love, I feel so easy, so relaxed, so comfortable, and I'm definitely more compassionate and understanding towards others. But when the heart lacks love, the mind can never rest. The agitated mind, something is missing. Because I think the first need in life is love. The first desire is love. When that desire is not fulfilled, thousands of other desires. You know, look at our culture today, so many material desires. And what I really began to learn is that we search for true love. We invest our heart in relationships. It's the most natural thing. Our families. But there's that huge challenge, that huge human dilemma that no relationship is permanent. Whether it's time, whether it's change, whether it's conflict, whether it's death, the object of my love will go. And what the sisters offered me was not only to know and experience who I was, but to have a permanent relationship with the divine. And really to experiment with a connection that I am a soul, this point of life energy, and the divine is also similar to me, a soul. I'm a soul that takes birth and rebirth, like you were expressing, and I reap the fruit of my actions, but the divine is always beyond influence, remains eternally pure, but is a real, living, conscious being. And that really, this relationship, I feel, is like the pinnacle experience for me in spirituality. And when I began to experiment in the laboratory of my mind, I had an experience of being completely loved, completely absorbed in love. And I noticed my whole inner world just, I don't know, I cooled down. It's like I came home, I found where I belong. And I felt completely satisfied, like I didn't need anything else. I felt completely full, completely content. And, you know, when I remember those experiences, you know, what I do these days is I wake up every morning of my life, and to sustain this, and I love to wake up very early when it's quiet, and I just sit so quietly, and I learn how to let go the temporary self, the body, and just become the soul conscious. And I feel myself cool down, and then through the eye of the mind, I see the divine, I feel the love from the divine, and everything settles inside, and I feel, you know, a sense of self-value, a sense of self-respect, which I think is really, you know, the pinnacle experience of the spiritual journey. So that really began my journey, and I'm just a regular practitioner and a regular meditator every day since then. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Charlie. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing soul journey and also giving us jewel of knowledge, wisdom. And I've listened to you several times, actually many times. And every time I listen to you, including today, this time, I feel so much love and peace. So thank you so much for sharing the beautiful energy with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so next question,
Okay.
second question
Okay.
for Mr. Mitsuda,
All right.
Shigeru-san. Okay, so second question. Second part is, how do we navigate through this turbulent, unstable times and find our true life purpose? So where do we go from here? While so many souls are experiencing a lot of anxiety, stress, fear. In this challenging time, how can we experience our own soul awakening experience for those who haven't found, or for those who haven't awakened, they think, right? And what is required, lastly, for us to transform ourselves during these uncertain times in our world today? Heavy question. Yes.
I think if we have a basic understanding that our true nature is immortal, eternal entity, and we are born without any reason. On the contrary, He provided us a supreme purpose for us, I believe. So first of all, if the life seems very difficult, I would like to advise that think that He is mindful of you. Edward Cayce used to say, even human beings love their children, right? There is everything in God that we have. There's nothing in God that we have. It means if we have a capacity, we have ability to love, then He should have much supreme love. So first of all, we should be aware that He is mindful of us, of our life. He has a full intention to guide us, to help us, our lives. And to do this, I think, we cannot accept everything blindly. We should keep a certain level of skepticism, healthy skepticism. And with this healthy skepticism, we do not go a dangerous place. I think we are safely guided. And first of all, we will keep our judgment for a while and try to live the ideas that our life is guided and protected by Him. And I think 1 or 2 months, if you try hard, you will gradually experience, oh my, what happened? Why this happened to me? I couldn't understand this is happened by chance. Some unbelievable forces came into my life. These events gradually increased, I believe, from my experiences. And if you once got that feeling, your anger or your anxiety will become less and less. And more, we are confident in trusting how the God provides us, I think. What do you think?
Yes.
And I did too. And in the Edward Cayce's world, we use affirmation a lot. So every day, from morning until we go to bed, we recite or repeat the affirmation continuously. Then our mind is gradually get released from the fear or any kind of anxiety. Instead, we will be filled with blissfulness and blessings and pleasure and joy, because this is our nature. We don't have to strive to gain those feelings, because it is already inside of us. So we don't have to worry about how can I get it. No, you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is release your ego, and then your true nature will naturally comes out. And you will know our Maker will guide us. And he is such a wise being. Lots of unusual or unbelievable things will continue, I think. What do you think?
I
Right?
think it's, yes, fantastic.
And actually, I did that. And as Charlie said, it's kind of experiments. We have to do that in the spirit of experiments. We have to hold our judgment for a while. And anyway, we will try and do the experiments. Are you sure he's going to guide us? Well, try. And you will find it. And once you find it, even though other people around you said otherwise, don't worry. Because you already experienced. And these experiences are much stronger, I think. And Edward Casey said, do not think much about finance. Rather, think about how can I be more service to people around me, around us. Then, if we put our energies to those services, finance will naturally follow us. I know from my experiences, this is true. Is that okay?
Yes, wonderful.
You said, should I say something about coronavirus or
Sure.
COVID-19?
You can, sure.
As Charlie knows, Edward Casey gave us a lot of medical information. And he also talked about virus infection. And in this pandemic time, there are several things we can do to boost our immune system. Naturally, in natural way. One thing is that we have to watch our diet. Do not avoid foods that will lower our immune system. Rather, eat as much leafy vegetables as possible, then we will have a better immune system. And also avoid fried food, and especially pork, and also refined sugar. If you avoid these things and eat lots of leafy vegetables, your immune system will naturally raised. And if you feel something strange in your throat, the best way, in Edward Casey's remedy, is to use soda, bicarbonate soda. Prepare 2 pieces of cracker and crush it into a powder and put it 1/3 of a teaspoonful soda and mix it and swallow them. And then the soda will stay here for a while, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And it will alkalize your throat, the cells. And while we are in alkaline state, virus cannot multiply. And if the virus reaches to your lung, there is one more thing we can do, which is inhale the apple brandy fume or vapor of apple brandy. I do that many times, and I have lots of good reports from people who try that. It means you have to prepare apple brandy and maybe a straw or something, and then tube and inhale the fume or vapor of apple brandy. Maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, and you should do this 2 or 3 times a day. Then your lung will be, purified or disinfected. So there are lots of things you can do, and I hope this information will help you also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitsuda. Yes, the remedy, I'm sure many people, who are really afraid of catching coronavirus and, trying to boost our immune system.
Yeah, build your immune system.
So that's the, yes, thank you. And then what's most impressive, what you said is about power within us. You said, you know, it's a natural state and we all have power within us. And you also said we need to experiment and experience it.
Experiment,
and
experience.
Connect and trust that we are guided and protected. That was beautiful.
We will know.
Thank you. Okay, so next up, I'd like to ask Brother Charlie, same question. So if you remember the questions, first one is, how do we navigate through these turbulent times and find our life purpose? I think many of us, some of you have found life purpose, lucky ones, but maybe others who haven't found, you think, true life purpose. But this is a very, very difficult time. So where do we go from here while so many of us going through difficult times, fear, stress, anxiety? How can we experience in this kind of time our own awakening experience and again find our true life purpose? And then lastly, what is required for us to transform ourselves in our world today? So if you can answer these questions, it would be great.
Thank you again, Yuko-san. You know, there's a saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Meaning that, you know, a lot of us are not happy. Many people today feel so deeply fearful and insecure and depressed and hurt inside, but we're equally fearful to do something different. And I feel that what I'm hearing from all over the world at the moment, on the one hand, we seem to see the world going so fast in a very destructive and negative way, but on the other hand, there's so many people in all countries of the world coming together in small groups who sort of realize the world out there is a result of our inner world. The collective human mind, when it's full of ego and anger and hurt, what sort of world are we creating? And I think that many people today are looking to reconnect with a higher purpose in life, in all cultures and in all countries of the world. And really, if you ask most people, my experience is, what is the purpose of life? Most people say peace, love, and happiness. The real question is, how do I get there? How do I really connect? Because the culture of the contemporary world is what I call the outside-in way. The outside-in culture. We look outside everything I need inside. And so I look to my family and my partner for love. I look to material things for security and peace. I look to my career for success, and they give it, but it's temporary. Sometimes you don't love me. Sometimes the economy changes and I lose my job, whatever. And it disturbs me absolutely deeply because, you know, everything we invest in this world is temporary. And the other method of life is the inside-out culture, where I look inside because all the resources I need in life are already there. They are already there. There is peace, love, and happiness. I just don't know how to pull them out of myself. And this is really where we find a permanent source peace, love, and happiness. And this is why the inner world, the inner journey, spirituality is reconnecting me with these things that I can experience whenever I want. And I actually have a friend in Australia who's a palliative care physician, he's a doctor. And he's dealing with people who are dying. And he tells me many times that when people are dying, there's two things on their mind. Firstly, what sort of person was I? And secondly, how did I treat others? And as he said, no one says, oh, I wish I'd made more money. I wish I had a better status in the company. No one. We get so distracted by what is superficial. Because to me, there's probably three things, and I'm talking from my own personal experience, as to the real beauty, a life of great beauty, a life of real purpose. One is to have a loving relationship with myself as a soul. For me, the greatest wisdom in life is to have a loving relationship with myself. The first relationship in life is with me. If that is unhealthy, it pollutes my health, my job, my family, absolutely everything. And unfortunately today, many people have a very negative relationship with themselves. So I encourage everyone listening to give time to improve the relationship with myself. Secondly, a loving relationship with the divine. There's a source of constant and unlimited love, and it's real. It's not my imagination, and I don't even have to be religious. It's a natural living relationship. And I find that thirdly, when I really experience a loving relationship with myself as a soul, a loving relationship with the divine, I can share love with everybody. And to me, I think probably the life with the highest purpose, the highest beauty, the highest fulfillment is a life where I share love. I'm an instrument of love. In my experience these days, there's so much pain and hurt and unhappiness in the hearts of almost everyone we come in touch with. And if I have a life where I offer a little bit of love to everyone, that is such a fulfilling life, and you bring light into the life of so many around you. So to me, perhaps the highest purpose in life is to learn to love myself, love the divine, experience love from the divine, and just share that love with absolutely everyone I come in touch with. There is no more fulfilling life, I believe, than a life full of love.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Charlie. Mr. Mitsuda, what do you think? He is
Yeah, of course.
like
Very
ocean.
beautiful.
I know, love, ocean of love, right?
Yeah.
So I really like the way he explained to us three things: loving relationship with ourselves, loving relationship with the divine of the source. Then we can have loving relationship with everyone around us. That's sounds such a beautiful but simple formula, but that's the way to find life purpose. Thank you so much, Charlie. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now I'd like to have 20 minutes or so for each of you to have discussion, free discussion time. You can ask a question.
Question?
Yes,
Yeah.
or just enjoy your free discussion.
Free
from here
discussion,
on.
yes. Okay, I have a question. I have a lots of friends, scientist friends, because I used to be a nuclear engineer. And yeah, and they are so skeptical about spiritual matters. If you meet those people, how do you convince them about the spiritual value? Or, well, you don't have to convince, but is there anything that we can do or we should do toward them who are so stubborn about their skepticism or materialistic point of view? What do you think?
You know, it's a very interesting question, but you know, my experience is that I think one of the things for inner peace is to accept everyone is different.
Of course.
You know how sometimes one of the things a lot of people don't like about religious people are always trying to convince other people of their perspective on life. And, you know, I think sometimes I feel that there's many people who are touched by these spiritual things, but some, it's just not their part. And I still feel that what I love to do is look beyond the conditions of the body and see them as a soul, like a vision of the quality, and give that love, give those feelings. I have met many scientists, and what I've found is that if they have an experience, if it's just intellectual, it's difficult. But if they have an experience of something more than the physical body. And I'm remembering one friend who's a scientist from Britain, and he came to me with us to India for a conference. And he had so many questions, very good questions from a scientific perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And one day he sat in meditation. You know, he experienced that he was something more than a body. He experienced himself as the eternal and immortal soul, and all his questions finished. What I learned about that is that, you know, even for ourselves, when we have an experience, we can answer a lot of our own questions. But still, I think it's a variety world, and everyone has their different perspectives.
Hey.
Shigeru, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I really loved how you said that you described really in a way the spiritual journey, according to you and Edgar Cayce, is to lose your ego.
Yes.
How do you really do that? How do you really, because I would say for me, it's my ego that accepts sorrow, insult, hurt. How do I really let go of my ego?
I see. Edgar Cayce provides a certain training course. It is called A Search for God. It is composed 24 lessons. We will try these lessons one by one, and gradually our mind, our spirituality will be trained. And the most important training was lose self in Him. Lose self in Him. Second one is be a channel of blessings to those that I contact in every way. These two training was must-thing for people who study Edgar Cayce. And lose self in Him is actually difficult for a while, because you have to lose self. It means contradictory, because I want to cherish my life. I have to, take good care of myself, but at the same time, I have to give it away. I have to lose it. This is a very interesting, and we need a sense of experiment. We need a spirit of experiment in this case as well. We will do anyway. We will do.
What's your experience of losing yourself in Him?
Yes.
How have you changed? How have you changed?
Yes. I tried this training when I was 28 years old. I remember it very well because I tried very hard because I couldn't do it well first. So I know very well. It was when I was 28 years old. I did that. And first, we will analyze ourselves. Analyze yourself. What kind of emotions do you have? What kind of reactions do you have around people around you? Then you will see, oh, this is a small ego. Why do I have to react this way? Aha, this comes from my ego, small self. Then when you find it, remove it one by one. Oh, here another one. Then we will remove it one by one. And gradually, you will have a sense of losing yourself one by one. This is according to my experience. And at the same time, you have to be careful. You need to lose self in Him. You must discard yourself into trash. It's just a waste of your life. No. You have to lose self in Him. Meaning, when I react to something strange, I ask myself, if he is here, what would he wanted me to react? Then I will try to emulate that. Then we will react differently because my perspective is not here, rather there. So your small ego is reacting. I can easily pick it up. So lose self means analyze yourself first and remove it and see how what he would want me to do or react, and do that. Do that more. Whatever, what you say, resistance you may have, remove it. We will do it anyway. So this is similar to the Japanese martial art, I think. I usually compare Edward Cayce's training system to martial art because martial art is do it anyway. Don't resist. Follow your teacher's instruction. This is the spirit of the martial art. And the similar thing is can be said about Edward Cayce's Search for God training course. Do it anyway, and you will see the result. And if you get a good result, then continue that. This is how we do that. And in my case, I know in which area my ego gets strong or my ego comes up or manifests strongly. My father wanted me to graduate very prestigious university, but I couldn't go there. So I had a very strong inferiority feeling academically. And every time I heard about the name of the university, my mind is not easy. I felt uneasiness here. Then I analyzed myself. Oh, here is my inferiority complex. This is not what I needed. Then I have to break it out. And there are several ways to do that. But in my case, the idea of reincarnation helped me very well. In this case, in this lifetime, I didn't go to that university, but next lifetime, I may. Or at least next life, I will probably go. So don't worry. I don't have to have an inferiority complex. So gradually, I could remove those small ego feeling. And now, I have a feeling that I grab my steering wheel of my own car, my own emotion. Most people release their hand from their own steering wheel. That's very dangerous because you will go anywhere and bump against anything. But if you have, if you hold the steering wheel properly, you can go anywhere you want. You can control yourself. But to do that, you have to lose self in him. This is a great technique I learned from Edward Cayce. And next one is try to be a channel of blessings to those that I contact in every way. How's that?
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Really, it's so lovely because I think I talk to a lot of people, like I'm sure you do. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist. But, I think the greatest problem in our world is the ego of inferiority. People think negatively of themselves. You know what I've been amazed, that what happens is that, we actually have so much self-confidence to do things. Like some people go to the university, they get the top job. It doesn't mean I like who I am.
Right.
And often underneath all that external success, there's so much unhappiness. So sort of I have an ego that I present to the world, but inside the ego inferiority, I feel lesser than everybody. You know, I once taught meditation to a billionaire. He said to me, there's been a total success out there, and I'm a total failure in here.
Okay.
Said, why?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not happy. I'm not a happy person. I'm not happy. And you know, I think the whole spiritual journey, what you just described, is repairing the damaged relationship with me. The first relationship in life is with me. And when that's not healthy, it influences every part of my life. And I feel that what I've learned over the years of meditation and spiritual practice like you is that I've healed that relationship. And for me, I think, you know, to me, it doesn't matter if I make a mistake. What matters is if I lose my self-respect. You know, it doesn't matter if you fail. Life means sometimes you fail, you don't do so well.
Right.
It matters that if everything that happens, I keep taking, you know, a message that I'm not a good person, that I'm an inferior person. And I feel what I've learned over my spiritual journey is to have self-respect. No matter what is happening in my life, to maintain my sense of self-value. And then really, my experience is to the extent you have self-respect, you can respect others. To the extent you have self-respect, you will be loving and you will be loved. And really the sign of someone with self-respect, they're humble outside. And that is such an attractive quality. Like you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any more questions, or are we okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful sharing of your personal experiences, both of you. If I have to summarize essence, it would take a lot of time. But I think what I catch, what you two have in common, is how important it is for us to connect with the source, to find
Of
our
course.
true life purpose.
Of course.
And you talked about experiment.
Experiment, yes.
And experience. And you are the embodiment proof, or, you know, living proof. And so is Charlie, also living proof, embodiment of love,
yes.
both of you. So thank you so much for being with us today. And before we end our session, Brother Charlie, can we ask you to guide us with a short meditation so we can feel peace and happiness? Yes.
Well, I would like to thank both of you, and if I can suggest to all the listeners to sit quietly, put down your phones and devices, and just for a few minutes, let me follow the thoughts suggested. As we observe our world around us, we see so much upheaval, so much peacelessness. Seeing these things, what is time calling me to do? I can't change the world outside, but I can change the world inside. Time is calling me to awaken my true self. Who am I? Visualize yourself as a tiny spark of life energy sitting in the front of the brain, in the center of the forehead. This is I, the eternal soul. I act through my temporary body. But when I realize and experience who I am, I open the door to truthfulness. This is my natural state. I am a peaceful soul. And in this soul conscious state, I come in front of the divine, a source of pure love. And I feel this connection. This connection is the highest connection of the mind. The connection with an unlimited ocean of love. For just a few moments, I, the soul, allow myself to be completely loved. Feel the energy of divine love entering the core of my being. This love will heal me. This love is so powerful. I can let go the sorrow of the past and let go the fear of the future. This is the highest experience of the human mind. To navigate this challenging world, let me experiment by waking up every morning, sitting quietly, and reconnecting with myself as the eternal soul, so that my mind is filled with peace. And then reconnecting with the divine, so that my mind is filled with love. If I do this every morning, I step back into my inner power. Not only do I live in peace and love, I spread these feelings to everyone I meet. This is life.
Thank you very much, Brother Charlie. It was so beautiful. I don't know about you, but I feel completely filled with love, happiness,
Of course.
bliss you talked about, even power, filled with wisdom after you shared lots of wisdom with us. So huge thank you to both of you for sharing your amazing stories on Soul Journey. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
So much, Shigeru. I really love being with you. I hope to meet you in person. Thank you. Thank you so much.